This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it, man, I know it, I know.
So, there was a match last night. It was a big deal. The Twitterverse was going crazy. People were talking about apex predators. People were like, oh, all this shit. Like, people were like, oh, this is like Ali Foreman and shit. Like, people were just like, this is insane. Rumble in the Jungle. People were down on the floor, like, just like have fucking no chips, coming all the way back, potentially winning, and then ended up winning. What just happened, man? What did I watch? I was there for like 5 hours. I thought the thing was over in 2. And then all of a sudden, the apex predator comes in and just,
Did you watch the whole thing?
I watched the whole thing. I don't even know if I'm proud of it.
I'm not. Honestly, it was like watching a monkey fuck a football. I've never been able to not turn away from something the way that this match was to me.
All right, so just to tell the people what we're talking about, because I prefaced it a little bit, but Daniel Negreanu and Phil Hellmuth had the first of their potentially 3 high-stakes duels, maybe more
potentially
now.
5.
Yeah, potentially 5 of their high-stakes duels. The first one was for $100,000, and Phil Hellmuth came out on top. So, Berkey, tell the people about the football and the monkey.
Well, there's an old phrase from the underground games I used to play in Pittsburgh where, like, if it was a really cheap price to call, somebody laid you just some stupid price, like, they min raise pre or they bet like 1/10 pot or something like that. You go, $5? I'd watch a monkey fuck a football for $5, and you flip it in. But like that's what I felt like I was watching. It was just like such a. Honestly, I don't remember who wrote this on Twitter, but they put it best. It was like as if the death penalty was on the line for the loser. Like I've never seen people cling to their chips the way that had happened in this match. This was the hand that like made me just my head exploded. I was like, okay, I got to turn this off at least for a minute. I don't think I can watch any more of this. Hellmuth gets crippled early. I guess it was like 2 hours in. You were saying. Daniel has a 96 to 4K lead. No, sorry. It was like 93 to 7. And Daniel opens min on the button. This is the one right here. So they put in 1,000 pre, so it was 2-4. And Hellmuth started the hand with 6K. So he has 15 bigs. Daniel opens the button with trash. And Hellmuth somehow doesn't find a shove with King 9 suited, which to me seems crazy. I know there's no ante, but like feels like that's just a rip in this spot.
It might be close because like you do want to have some hands you call with, and like suited hands kind of play pretty fine.
Yeah, Queen 9, Jack 9, 10 9. These aren't going to really reshove at 15. Seems like we don't really need the King 9. We could just have the King 7 instead, the King 6.
He didn't fold.
But the greater point you're making is that even if it's a mix, he's probably just not doing it.
Right.
Well, I know there's a hand for sure that Phil folded Queen Jack suited for like 7 bigs.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah. We can't miss that one. It's insane. But anyway,
I mean,
so
you could have stepped away from the screen,
So no, I did not miss that one. So he calls and it comes King Queen Jack all spades. Not the worst flop for his hand, especially whenever you're at 1.5 SPR. He checks. Daniel bets small. I think he bets like 1K into 3.
Looks like 500.
Oh, okay.
So he bets like 1 big blind.
Perfect. So he bets 1 big blind. Phil calls. Now Phil has 4,500, 5K behind. The pot's 4K, so effectively 1-to-1 SPR. Turn is a jack. Daniel bets small again. He bets 1/3 pot, 1,500. And Phil just like finds the fold as if Daniel is just some incompetent poker player who could never in a million years have a bluff here. Like.
He could just have like a worse king.
He could just have 9-5. Well, there's no worse king. You're just chopping.
No, I mean like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He could just have like a king with a spade.
Yeah, but it's just like to find a fold there in a spot where you are 100% equity, right? Like I'm overemphasizing that because it's that egregious to me. Mm-hmm. But it really is one of those things where it's like, yes, of course you lose to some hands. He just has King Queen sometimes. He just has a flop straight sometimes.
Yeah.
He just has a flush sometimes. Sometimes he has a jack. Whatever. But not enough to justify a fold.
Talk about more general stuff. So obviously we're going to see a rematch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Berkey said that the first when they were deep, Daniel was the clear favorite, not close. Do you think then that when things get shallow, Hellmuth is the favorite? Is that how
Unless
is that how
Daniel,
we're thinking?
yeah, unless Daniel works. I think he just needs to work a lot on his push folds. I think he needs to work a lot on his out of position game. As best I could tell, he was just like letting Phil over realize position by a tremendous amount. So there are two things taking place here whenever you're facing an opponent who almost purely limps the button. Number one, he's playing the smallest pots in position and the biggest pots out of position. And that's pretty favorable for you. So you feel like you're willing to give a little bit back and kind of take advantage of the positional edge. But you're getting defaulted that positional edge anyway. You're not really giving that much up by bluffing him pre-flop when you're out of position. And Daniel just like snap checked all of his nothing, right? Where some of that nothing qualifies as a nice raise and take it. Because what we know for sure was Phil was limp folding. And because Phil was limp folding, and because the raise and take it was so viable, Daniel now sized down with a value dense range. So instead of like having a complete range, he chose a bounded one that he like just barely 3x'd with or like 2.75x'd with out of position. When in reality, he'd probably be better served to like have a complete range and 3.5x and just take advantage of the fact that Phil massively overfolds.
Yeah, Phil was like hitting like there was some hands that were like Queen 7 suited that was like limp folding. Like Queen Deuce suited, I remember limp folding too. It was like pretty wild. I was like, man, if I'm limping these hands, I don't think we can always fold.
Right, and it's like you have to remember the upside also of like the times that he gets stubborn and starts calling, but then has to just give up flop because he just overfolds every node of the game tree. Right, like we just know that to be true. That Queen Jack fold was, but then Daniel honestly made one of like I think his fold was worse than Phil's King 9.
The Jack 10 one?
Yeah. I legitimately think you could argue that this is worse than the King 9 fold.
I guess the reason, like, where I think he was coming up with his logic for why he folded the turn was probably because he doesn't think that Phil has enough bluffs on the turn that don't follow through on the river, so that he's already lost. But he has a gut shot.
No, there's no river. He's all in on the turn.
He's all in.
Yeah.
Wait, is he all in?
He has 3.5 big blinds behind.
Oh, he jammed the turn?
Well, you're missing the entire pot construction here, man.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, Phil bet third pot on the flop.
Yeah.
Daniel called, leaving himself with 4 big blinds. He started the hand with only 9 big blinds.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming it was a limped pot, right? So
Yeah.
So this is pre-flop.
Yeah.
So okay, so it's 1,600 each, 3,200 in the pot. They go to a flop of King 10 deuce.
Flush draw.
I can't tell. Yeah, that's 2 hearts. Okay.
Yeah.
So King 10 deuce, 2 hearts. Phil flops a gut shot. Check. Phil bets.
Phil flops nothing.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry, I was thinking Queen 9.
Yeah.
So yeah, he flops stone nothing. He bets 1.5 big blinds.
Okay.
Now, Daniel started this hand with only 9 blinds. Okay? So now he's put in 2.5 of those 9.
Yeah.
No, more, right?
I just think on flop, like you're like in theory, I think you just you either call and get the money on any turn. You just rip out,
I'm
like,
way off. He didn't have 9 blinds. So he started the hand with 8,600 blinds, 1,600. So he started the hand with like 5.5 blinds. He's already put in 2.5 of them,
Yeah, you just rip.
and then he just folds turn
Yeah.
to a shove, which is it's
It's not it.
what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? This just makes no sense. You're getting almost 3-1 in a
He
spot.
doesn't even.
where, like,
I mean, even to make an argument for like a fold, like he doesn't have hearts in his hand either. Like Phil could just have a flush draw.
who could also just have Jack 9? Right.
I already saw Daniel tweet that I think he'd lay 200K on himself at 1.5 to 1.
Yeah.
So he's out for blood, you know.
I got to tell you, it's a tempting bet to take because it's very hard to be a 3-2 favorite in
a sit and go.
In a sit and go format. And truthfully, like if Phil gets out of the deep part of the game unscathed, if they arrive at the
shallow
push,
stack depth?
if they arrive at the push fold portion at like 20 bigs effective or even 25 effective,
Yeah, it can go either way. You just get 9s versus 8s. You just flip and lose.
But both
like,
or you
Players-
get
both
7s
players
versus
are
3s
still-
and neither one of them put the
That's what
money
I'm
in.
saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand. Like, okay, even if they get down to the 20 big blind, like, yeah, I agree it favors Phil, but neither are playing a strategy that.
But that's why I think it
Is-
favors Phil.
so I
Because
feel like
Daniel will try to correct to something more optimal, like the 7-6 suited rip. right? Like now all of a
Right,
sudden
right.
he's trying to take advantage of button limps.
I guess Daniel's just betting on the fact that he's going to have more chips before they get to that point. Like he's going to win enough chips to where when Phil has 20 big blinds, the variance isn't going to
He
exist.
won 95% of the chips.
Yeah,
So the
he
market,
did.
the market still has.
I don't think his bet's
Boys.
the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Boys, the market still has Negreanu as a heavy favorite. Heavy favorite. It's hard, man. Like I was having a lot of discussions about just how theoretically bad Hellmuth is, but how does he makes it happen, man?
Look at that mistake that Daniel makes. He folds 87% equity with 3.5 blinds.
Yeah, but Phil folds 100% equity.
But at least he,
Like
but at least he
before.
had 15 blinds.
One of them is a student of white magic. The other one is not.
Right, like Hellmuth preserved the 15 blind stack. At least that's workable in some sort of
Right.
capacity. Or he preserved the 12 blind stack, whatever it was. Daniel preserved a 3.5 blind stack with 87% equity hitting.
Yeah, there was even myself. Like I was like, are these graphics?
Everybody thought the
Watching them
stacks
just
were wrong.
fold- because it's natural, right? Like
Yeah.
like hands are hitting the muck that, or like not shoving off like 6 big blinds.
Or
and I'm
just
like, what is
folding.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I'm like, what is going on, right? Like this is kind of insane.